you could do that. Welcome gallery staff and councillors to Richmond Valley Council's March Ordinary Council meeting. I'll open the meeting with acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture, connections to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Public access, I believe there is no request for public access, Mr General Manager?
No, none received today.
And apologies, I have one apology from Councillor Cornish. Could I get a mover for that, please?
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, a seconder. Councillor
second.
Hayes. Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. We go over to page 6. We have my mayoral minute, and I'll move that. Can I get a seconder, please?
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillor, I just wanted to bring this to the attention of Council that this is an ongoing issue. Rouse has been really trying the best they can to receive funding for this. Council here has had a couple of presentations when it's been, some items have been on our agenda from residents down that way, and over the time we have supported Rouse in their endeavours, but now there's, I think there have been 9 attempts to gain funding, and the Rouse has really tried hard. They've tried harder on this issue on the floodplain than most probably any other item of flood damaged infrastructure. But we seem to be getting knocked back, and I think after these elections it's time to go to the politicians. We don't usually do that. We usually let the course, the issue take its course, and I think it's beyond that now. The community of Bunga deserve this levy to be not only fixed to the standard it was, but there's betterment money out there, and that needs to be done to protect that community and people downstream of that levy. So I don't know if any other council would like to make a comment. Councillor Humphries.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You mentioned the staff. We had the pleasure of meeting a few of the staff from the flood mitigation team, and they're absolutely dedicated to the floodplain areas in the whole region, and particularly in the Richmond Valley. I've seen how dedicated and keen they are to having the levee repaired, and for the long term. They've been submitting applications from April last year through until February this year, and I'm sure with the assistance of Council's new flood study, I'm positive that will be received with such gratitude and great interest. One of the most important factors, given the history of the levee, is that it's essential to determine an appropriate engineering solution, design and construction for the upgrade of the levee so that it's not falling into disrepair every time we have a flood. And of course we understand that the flood was unprecedented, but it's just essential that we get the right design and the right contractors in to do the work. And thank you for the mayoral minute.
Is there any statistics?
Councillor Hayes.
Is there any information around what that levee actually done to the flood heights when it got to Woodburn?
I don't believe there is. I haven't seen any, but there's no doubt it would have impacted all that lower area, the levee, because once it breaks the levee, it flows out. But I think the levee would have been breached with the height of the water there, but this is now failed on about 3 occasions. Up till then, it was held. So undoubtedly, there's something not right occurring there. So that's why there needs to be betterment procedure to fix it for the future.
What's the dollar amount they're chasing to build
I think
back
it's
better?
about 1.2, somewhere around that. It's just over the mill, something like that.
So it's infrastructure, it's not an asset, it's not a Rouse asset, is that correct?
It's
Yes,
It's a Rouse asset.
Okay, so,
As the report says, I think Rouse has about 80 kilometres of earth.
yeah,
levies.
so in Rouse's report further on in the meeting, it says that they've finalised an insurance claim for a value of $2 million, which is not enough, no doubt, to fix all their assets.
No, there's a lot more assets that Rouse is.
Yeah. Were Rouse involved in the other insurance company that was offered to the councils?
They're fully aware of it. Yes.
Yeah, so that if they had got $5 million instead of $2 million, there would have been a long way.
Would have
to
gone a
fixing
long
that
way.
levy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that needs noting. Thank you.
Just bear in mind to leave one insurance company, you've got to give 12 months' notice to. So, yep. Any other speakers? I was just a bit concerned that some members of the community didn't think that Rouse and Richmond Valley were taking this serious. So the General Manager of Rouse I requested an email, and it was also sent to Richmond Valley. But one of his comments in it is he gave a list of all the 9 application grants, and his footnote was, as is shown in the list of grants Rouse has been pursuing, which each take dozens of hours to prepare and submit. Rouse acknowledging the importance of the Bungawal levy to the community and has made improvements to the levy a priority on the floodplain. No other asset on the floodplain is receiving this kind of effort. So we are definitely taking it serious, and I spoke to a resident at the Meet the Candidates night at Corrakai, and I gave her the undertaking that after the elections I would be knocking on the successful candidate's door, and hopefully to get a meeting with the Minister and also our federal member. So I just wanted the council to be aware and have a resolution to support my approaching those. So that closes the debate. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Page 8, confirmation of the minutes from last February meeting. Could I get a mover, please? Still waiting. Councillor Morrissey. Seconder? Councillor McGillan.
Yep.
Has any councillor got any issues with the accuracy of those minutes? No, I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Page 9, matters arising out of those minutes. Any councillor got any matters arising? No. Declarations of interest. Any councillor got any declarations of interest? Mr General Manager, have you received any?
Yes, I have. So I'll just read those out. So I've got one from Councillor Deegan in the matter of 15.2, which is the Air Force Beach vehicle access option. Councillor Deegan is a semi-regular user of that and is identified as a non-pecuniary insignificant conflict. Councillor Hayes, same item, 15.2, Air Force Beach vehicular access options, and same with a non-pecuniary insignificant conflict, as Councillor Hayes lives nearby to that beach access. And the third one is a disclosure for myself in item 17.3, which is the Civic Risk Mutual Extend contract item. A non-pecuniary insignificant conflict, as I am a board member of Civic Risk Mutual, But the reason I am the board member is that board members of that mutual consist of representatives from the member councils.
Sorry, I'll say that again. My speaker wasn't on. Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. 9 petitions is nil. 10 notice of motions is nil. We now go over to page 10, a mayoral's report, and I'll move that. Any seconder, please?
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey. Any questions, comments? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Delegates report. We have one delegate report from Rouse County Council on page 11. Could I get a mover, please?
Move that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Humphries, I'll second. Councillors got any questions? Councillor Hayes.
Just based around that insurance, again, like the statewide mutual includes flood cover with a sub-limit of $2 million, which you got paid out after the floods. Does the board up there have discussions around increasing their insurance in case it happens again?
Increasing it?
Yeah, and well, changing companies or whatever?
Yes, it's been done a while ago.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, fully aware of it. The discussion's been had. Yep. No other speakers? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Page 15, matters for determination without debate. Councillors got any items? No, I'll call then 15.1. Fifteen 2. 15.3. Any other?
14.1
14.1.
and 16.1.
I've got 15.1. I've called it, sorry. No?
16.
16.1, sorry. Any other? Okay, so that tells me I need a motion for the organisation services 17.1, 17.2, 17.3. Could I get a mover for that, please?
Move that way.
Councillor Humphries,
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey. Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Councillor Hayes, 14.1.
Yeah, I'd just like to move the recommendation as written, and I've got a few questions throughout the report.
I'll second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hayes moving, Councillor Morrissey seconding. Councillor Hayes.
When Mr Witherton addressed council at our information session, we didn't have a lot of time with him because we had to go down to watch that flood movie. But we were limited to, half an hour we had with him, and he answered some questions and advised us where they're up to. And one thing that come up in that discussion was a question to him by the General Manager about the supermarket in Woodburn. I'm just wondering, after that question, have we had any feedback from him, from his commission, if they're going to do anything or if they can see their way clear to support what's going on there?
We haven't had feedback. However, we are meeting with their business team. I think it's next week. Director Zeller, when's that meeting with the NRCC? Yeah, is that next week? Yeah. So we've got a meeting with their business team next week. So we'll definitely be following up with them. We've also had some discussions with a lot of businesses in the area last week, and that also did include the IGA. So we'll continue to advocate where we can, and once we have that meeting with them next week, we can give you any feedback on that.
Any other questions?
Just on the Reconstruction Commission and their depth of work that they've got to get through with buybacks and house lifting and resilience work, like Mr. Witherden explained a lot of things on how they're going about it. And look, I'm still not confident that they're going about it the right way. And the right way to go about it's going to be hard work. There's no doubt about it. The money's not going to support what they want to try and do, and I don't think they're going to be able to do what they want to do with that. I spoke the other night about Woodburn being an identity, and Woodburn and Broadwater, being identities by themselves and need to be treated that way. And I think that council needs to keep following that up and make sure that the individual towns are treated individually, because their needs are completely different. From Lismore through to Coracai, through to Woodburn and into Broadwater, it's just everybody's needs there are different. And I think the house buyback scheme is going to create issues, conflict between residents, because they'll be worried about you're getting it, I'm getting it. There's going to be so many different individual scenarios that it's going to cause that much conflict that it's going to cause us dramas into the future, I think. I think that council probably should suggest a plan to them that takes place, that each town is treated individually. I don't know how it's going to be structured, how it could be structured, but there's people out there that want to stay in town, in these towns. They want to live there. They've lived there all their lives. Some of them have put up with floods all their lives. They're happy to clean out, move on, take on the next flood. There's instances there where houses got 6 inches to 300 mil of water in them, so 6 inches to 12 inches of water in them. I think with the levy and the effect on Woodburn, I'm not saying down as far as Broadwater, and the information we got from Toonambar Dam the other day, all added up to those two items, relieving those houses of getting water in them in the future if we get the same flood. I think those two items need to be addressed, and addressed soon. The other one is the houses that got a metre of water in them. Flood mitigation is the only way that they can save those houses in the future. Those houses will not be lifted, they will not be bought back, they will still be there, but we need to protect them. The only way we can protect them is make sure that any kind of work they do on mitigation reduces the water by a metre. Not reduces it by 2 metres or 3 metres, just a metre. And that brings everybody back to where they are. The other scope is the families that live and have lived through floods forever. Most of them got the back to home grant, okay? They've spent that, they've spent their super, they've spent everything. Another round of back to home grants would go a long way to getting those people over the line. So I think every town's different, and I think they need looking at individually. And I think council should be pushing that onto the Reconstruction Commission to do that.
I'm sure that can be passed on to them.
Yep, we can certainly do that.
Any other speakers?
Mr.
Councillor?
Mayor, thank you.
Chris.
There's a lot of really interesting information when you get down into this, but there's a lot of information about strategies. And I was hoping that through you I could ask the General Manager to talk about how, like that talks about the resilient land strategy, our growth management strategy, how that links, how important it is that that links in, and then the workforce strategy, that that we can get the work to happen with locals and that. Can I just ask how important it is that we do have continue to have a place at the table, and we have it linking with the work that's being done by council?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor Humphries. The work we've been doing with our urban growth management strategy, the Casino Place Plan, which had been out on consultation, has positioned us well in the scheme of programs like the Resilient Lands program. So, hopefully we're a step ahead to be well positioned to, assist with the recovery of the region, and some of those opportunities around growth, particularly with flood-free land in and around the casino area in particular, provides the opportunity for the corporation to support us and support the prospective developers to activate that land as quickly as we can to provide housing. You know, every conversation that we have at the moment tends to come back to housing. You know, it's a bit like, you know, workforce. What do we need to support new workforce? We can't get rentals, we can't buy houses, we need more housing. So it all comes back really to, we need to get a supply of housing happening quicker. So that Resilient Lands program, which has $100 million allocated to it, aims to achieve that. So we're positioned well there. Obviously, for the growth of the Richmond Valley, with the work we're doing, you know, one of the key things we need is a new sewage treatment plant in Casino. That's got a big price tag on it, but it's a core infrastructure that is needed, and we're aiming to secure funding both through Resilient Lands program but other government programs to be able to make that happen. That'll then support residential growth, but also our industrial growth potential. So there's some of the things. The workforce strategy, I've got a meeting with someone who's doing some work to support the corporation next Monday around the workforce strategy and what their plans are. So I will know more once we have that conversation. But obviously it's about, and I know they have been talking about, if we've got all these billions of dollars worth of works that need to be done, we don't have the supply of labour and industry to support that. So we've got to bring people into the region. To bring them into the region, you've got to have somewhere for them to be accommodated. So they're looking at a range of options to look after the workforce, encourage people, but also to make sure we support local industry so that they can build their capacity and be better set up for the future. So yeah, there's plenty happening across all of those areas. But you know, back to Councillor Hayes' comments, some of the challenges we've got around buybacks and the Resilient Homes program. The next month or two we'll see a lot more of how that's playing out. So we'll keep a close eye on it and keep you informed. And at the end of the day, it's good that the corporation's got some funds to do some of this stuff, because it's not happening in other parts of the state. Obviously what happened in the Northern Rivers was more extreme than other areas, but there has been a lot of floods. So we've got to make sure we capitalise on it.
Thank you very much. And as the report says, they'll be starting to do the assessments on the house raising and the resilience works April. Let's hope that timeline doesn't move out.
Thank you. Any other speakers? I think we asked Mr. Winningham to return in a few months. I believe we need to keep those meetings happening. So we're up to date, and when our constituents have questions of us, we can answer those. The other thing I did do after when we were leaving, when he was leaving, I did have 5 minutes about the Bungawalgan liver with him. So that was another option that we really took advantage of. So, any other speakers? Councillor Hayes, right to reply?
No, good to go. Thank you.
I'll put that motion and all those in favour. Carried. .1 on page 18. I'll move that. Seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Humphries. The reason I call this, councillors, as you'd know, it's a planning issue, and under legislation we have to call it and give the councillors opportunity to debate it. So I support the report. Any other councillors?
A couple of questions. The minor amendment to further clarify requirements has been included. Was that because of that submission we got? And what was the amendment? What was changed?
General Manager. Director Jane.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It was tweaked following the submission to provide further clarity, and Appendix A was what was amended. There There was a number of points that were raised in that submission, some of which are actually dealt with by other council policies and requirements to exhibit. So as far as the 28-day exhibition, so it did address a number of the points that were raised already in the policy, but there were some minor amendments to Appendix A.
And just another question around plans of management. When we do a plan of management for one of our properties that we're managing, how do you determine if once the plan of management has been out on advertising and it's approved and ready to go, when you actually go to commence those works, how do you know, or how do you determine if you need an REF or you need to lodge a development application? Is it cost based or is it?
Through you, Mr Mayor, once again. There are a number of factors with regards to the REF. So the provisions under the legislation specify what is development without consent, being an REF, and there's the infrastructure SEP takes out a lot of requirements for the traditional DA process when we are doing infrastructure, such as, park benches and pipes and things like that. So they're generally done under an REF and they're all covered in the infrastructure SEP. So the scale and cost does come into play, but the infrastructure SEP for council businesses and in delivering infrastructure to the community is generally addressed in that one piece of legislation.
Any other speakers?
Mr Mayor, just a comment. I think anyone reading the report will appreciate the examples given on page 18. I also note there that the regulation only requires council to address the conflict of interest at the development application stage. Council's, the policy is it's recommended that we take the policy to include from application, preparation, assessment, determination, post-consent certification through to the regulatory compliance, and this aims to achieve transparency throughout the whole process. So I support that extra addition to the policy.
Any other speakers? I'll put that motion in. Those in favour? Carried. (15.2), page 21. I'll move that. I'll move part 1 and 2 of the recommendation, and I have a new part 3, which reads: continues to closely monitor usage, behaviour, and enforcement action, especially over the Easter school holiday period, with a no-tolerance approach to enforcement, and then schedules a councillor information session at Evans Head to consider a further report and enable all councillors to visit the beach to consider all issues before making decisions on further restrict access to Air Force Beach. If I can get a seconder, please.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morris is seconding. I'll move it. Councillors, as we all know, this has been a ongoing issue. I am pleased that there are council in the past has said we would monitor and educate our community. There are two statements in the report where the feedback from the police suggests that behaviour has improved, and in the previous report at the last meeting, there was where the ranger also said that there was an improvement, maybe even also in here. So I'm very pleased with that. However, there is still unacceptable behaviour happening on that stretch of the beach. I do notice sometimes there is warnings. I'm over warnings. I think we need to start really enforcement on this behaviour. I understand there's some community members who still want to be able to drive on the beach, and they've done it all their life, but there are other people who have had enough. And it's a hard decision for council, and that's why I've recommended that we monitor over Easter, and then that council would actually go and have a look at the area before we make a decision. I think that's something that's never happened before for councillors. We've always made a decision sitting in here, but we've never actually been on the ground. Some have been there individually, I certainly have. But I think as a group with the ranger, to get explained to us on ground what they have to go through and where the problem is, and is there other avenues where we could still have some four-wheel drive access that could curtail some of this behaviour. But I look forward to some other councillors' comments, and I'm sure there will be. So any other councillor like to comment?
Yep, I would. Okay, the report covers all bases, I think. I think the recommendation, though, falls a little bit short. I think the dot point 3 there, that commences consultation with the community and carries out further consultation with government agencies with a view to closing Air Force Beach to recreation of vehicles. I think it's too early. I think the rest of the report points to a few other things that they'd like to trial before they get to that point and see how successful they are. I was going to call this and try and change the recommendation with a view to trialling a reduced four-wheel drive access area to only include the area from the access track as far north as the off-leash dog area, and that is suggested in that report. Closing the beach to any recreational four-wheel drive access between the hours of 9 and 5, okay? And that's in the report there too, that the police would like to see that happen. I've got another thing there that I'd like to see: the off-leash dog times. The times that dogs can be off-leash in that area changed as well, but that's another item. So I think tonight we need to discuss, a plan. And I don't know how far we should continue before we actually do something, but I'm of the opinion that at no point in time do we need to put a gate at Air Force Beach. I think that it's cost prohibitive. It says that in the report. The gate, if we change the signage again and introduce these things and police it for a little bit longer without a gate and see how that goes, and if that's successful, four-wheel drives will still be able to go to the beach. The family picnics will still be able to happen on the beach. The fishermen will be able to, the recreational fishermen will be able to drive down there, park their car and still walk to Salty and further if they want to. And it covers all bases. But whether it's going to be successful, it'll come back to behaviour. And Councillor Musto's statement that the behaviour in the reports, it says it's improved, why we've been monitoring it, is something we probably should look at. And do we want to do what he suggests and take it a bit further and see if it keeps improving? And maybe we don't have to do anything. I think that's where we're at with it. Personally, I'd like to see these trial these things, reduce the four-wheel drive access area, and see if it takes away that area where they can race up the beach and they can get into the sand dunes and they can do the damage that they're doing. And there's evidence that they're doing damage to the environment, without a doubt. So,
any other speakers? Councillor Humphries.
I'm still going like this, Mr. Mayor. I'm fine with supporting the amendment. However, I would just as easily support the National Parks and Wildlife Services recommendation as well. I'm fearful of what the police say there, that there's serious vehicle accidents. So I'm fearful of that being like bad news. And the environment, it's so lovely to hear what's happening down the other end where the fledglings and going down the path of monitoring for a bit longer through to April, I'm comfortable with that, but I'm getting closer and closer to winding it back and making it safer and more enjoyable for everybody to use.
Any other speakers? Well, councillors, I think that's some of those suggestions. They're in my mind, and I've actually got them written down here, and they've come out of some of the National Parks and Wildlife. I agree with Councillor Hayes. I don't know why we'd need a gate. Just put a sign up. But I think the staff, when we do have our session and have an inspection, I think we can get those comments from the staff if there's ways around for those things to happen. But I agree. I just think the majority of the community down there, a big majority of the community, are well behaved on that beach and do the right thing. And I just think the improvements there, to do it, to try to shut it now, I just think is not the right message when we've asked them to behave. And I just, anything in life I don't like a minority spoiling for the overall majority, you know, and I don't want to be jumping at shadows, but I just hope there's some way we can keep the beach open and everyone can enjoy that privilege, because it is a privilege to be able to drive on the beach. There's not a lot of places you can do that. And I just hope that can occur, but if it continues, I'll be voting to close the beach. But I don't want at that stage now.
On the note of closing the beach, if we get to that, and we talk about a gate, if it's permanently closed, then we won't need a
Be
gate.
quick, because I just spoke and closed, but be quick.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, you're right, go on quick.
If we get to the point where we're going to close the beach, and, you know, I don't believe we need to gate it. The only reason we need to gate it is to let in emergency services and professional fishermen and stuff like that. Is there access up the surf club end of the beach for that type of thing, so that if we close the beach, we just block it off and put sandstone blocks there and that's the end of it? I think that needs to be looked at in between now and when we make that decision. So,
Okay.
so we've got that information, that's all.
All right, I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. The next one, I think I also called 15.3. I'll move that.
Second, Mr.
Councillor Morrissey seconding. Councillors, I think this is a wonderful strategy that Richmond Valley Council has before us, and I would like to congratulate the staff, all staff that have been involved in this, especially Josh and Kayla that are here tonight. I think it's well done, and it's great that our community engaged with staff on this strategy, and I know they went out seeking that consultation, and I'm pleased it was rewarded. But it's a great strategy, and some of the engagement, I like how they done the age groups. You get a true reading of what people feel and what is important. And yeah, so congratulations, and we look forward to this strategy being implemented and for many years to come, and our environment improving. Thank you. Any other speakers? Put the motion in. Carried unanimously. (16.1) on page 28. Councillor Hayes.
Yeah, look, I just called this because
Yeah,
of the
you-
submission we received.
I'll second, Mr.
You're
Mayor.
moving?
Oh, sorry, yeah,
You-
I move it as written, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seconded,
I-
please.
You've got a
Yes,
s-
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey.
Okay, look, I only called this because of the submission, the one submission received about the fees, insinuating that we were putting the fees up for the vendors, which is clearly in there that we're not doing that. And the vendor fees haven't gone up since 2020, and they're not likely to go up at this stage. I think, I just want to know, has this been communicated with the Richmond Rivers Beef Producers Association, that is the fact? We replied?
We haven't responded at this point.
I
We've
think we
acknowledged
should.
receipt of the submission. Yeah, we're obviously waiting for council to consider the report, and we can certainly clarify that point.
I think we should respond and state to them that their fees have not gone up and at this point in time, and they haven't gone up since 2020, and the only way that their fees could go up if they let the agents push it onto them.
I think that's the underlying concern, is that any fees put onto agents or others can be passed on to the vendors. We know in the past that has occurred, so we're certainly looking at ways to minimise the risk of that happening as we move into the new arrangements, but it's certainly something that we'll need to keep a close eye on.
Any other speakers? Don't need right to reply. Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Item 19, page 43, matters for information. I'll get a mover, please.
I'll move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries? Yep. Has any councillor got an item they'd like to ask a question or talk about?
Through you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey,
Yeah, grant applications.
what page we on?
On page,
No number?
no number,
What colour?
Brown,
Brown? Yep.
unsuccessful grant applications.
Yep.
Could I just ask what the Richmond Valley Women, Mind, Body and Soul is, please?
Councillor Morrissey, I think we'll have to take that one on notice. You got us?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Page 59, item 20, questions on notices. Nil. Questions for the next meeting in writing? Do we have any? Councillor Hayes?
I've got one, it follows on from a previous item. I'll read it out, I've got a copy here.
What about soul and body? What?
Previous. At the March 2023 Council Information Session, the CEO of the Northern Rivers Reconstruction Commission, Mr David Witherden, addressed councillors and staff. He was questioned by the GM and the Richmond Valley Council as to what his commission could do to assist with the re-establishment of a supermarket in Woodburn after the 22 floods. Can council follow up with Mr Witherden to confirm in writing what his commission has done to assist the Woodburn community in their plight to have this valued community business reinstated?
Thank you.
Councillor Hayes, we might just have to, needs to be framed as a question. It's the only thing.
The last bit, bring the last bit to the front.
Question?
Yeah, I think we put a question mark on the second sentence. Yep. Okay.
Councillors, page 60, item 22. Could I get a mover to go into closed council, please?
Move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Councillor McGillen. Mr General Manager, has there been any written representation made regarding the meeting going into closed council?
None received.
Are there any verbal representations from the members of the public? No. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Thank you everyone for attending and have a safe trip home. Mr General Manager, could someone please read the resolution from closed council, please?
Over to Director Zeller.
Mr Zeller.
In the item 22.1, tender VP 333456, Collie Park Facility Building Detailed Report, recommend that Council 1 declines the submissions received for tender VP 333465, Collie Park Facility Building, due to 3 submission prices being higher than the budget allocated for the works and 2 being non-conforming tenders. 2, applies clause 178(3) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 to authorise the General Manager to enter direct negotiations with suitably qualified contractors with a view to obtaining works that provide Council with the best outcome both from a financial and delivery perspective, and to finalise the terms of the contract or agreement and affixing the seal of Council where necessary. And 3, notes that the outcome of the negotiations will be reported to Council for information at a future meeting.
Thank you, Mr Zeller. Thank you to everyone out there on Zoom watching our meeting, and I'll now officially close the meeting. Thank you. Thanks everyone for your attendance. Have a safe trip home.